Good morning and welcome to Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE and online at kvre.com. With Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. We have a huge week of sports to recap and preview for the week ahead. Tracy, how you doing this week?
Well, I'll tell you what, with the weather change and I'm doing better than I was last week. I'm just much better. Got all the mowing done, bush hogging, but still a little bit under the weather. But man, oh man, excitement. You know, we were struggling, if you recall, in the middle of the summer. We had, of course, the Olympics saved us. But now we've got so many things to talk about. We're jam-packed, and we better get going.
Yeah, you're right. On any given Saturday, we have it feels like a lot of topics that we just can't get to in an hour's time. So for quarter number one of this week's show, we actually have to combine a couple of sports to give you the recap. And we haven't talked about the NFL in a couple of weeks, and it's time to get back to action on the gridiron, Tracy. 6 weeks through the season, not a lot has been decided yet. And of course, that's a good thing. But, you know, outside of the Chiefs and maybe the Texans, all divisions look to be very much in play. Of course, two teams still undefeated, Kansas City and Minnesota. Some teams already appear to be waving their white flag as there was some big trade news over the week with Cleveland sending Amari Cooper to the Bills and the Raiders shipping off Davante Adams laterally to another lackluster team in the New York Jets. He's reunited with Aaron Rodgers. Look, the Jets, if you look at this Jets roster, this is simply an older Green Bay Packers team. They're wearing different jerseys and they're in a different time zone, but they're basically the Packers from a few years ago out there with Lazard and Adams and Rodgers. We'll see if Davante Adams is the missing piece to make this team a contender. But after watching that Monday night game, that big game against the game with the Jets and the Bills, I'm not so sure. They've got a lot more problems than that.
Well, and then you didn't touch on their coach. He's gone.
He's gone.
So you bring in another coordinator. So really, who's calling the plays? Of course, Rodgers. You know, but the one shining star that they do, I mean, Phillips, but he can't throw to him every down, you know what I mean? And really that score was, I don't know, 23-20 was not indicative of what the game, with the big throw there at the halftime, of course. But so field goals, you know, the three phases of sports in football: offense, defense, special teams. None of them really showed up. And even the Bills were lackluster too, though, but with 31 penalties, 7 illegal procedures. Now, are they not just getting the snap count from Rodgers? I don't understand that part of it.
I think it's very obvious. There's a lot of just dissension in the locker room in New York with the Jets. Of course, the Bills are already the team to beat in this conference. They just got stronger with Cooper. And yeah, it was a close ball game. Bills were without their starting running back, James Cook. And I think that one was really felt out there on the field. So, you know, adding Adams as a receiver, while I think it's a good thing, I don't think it's going to fix a lot of the problems. I watched Aaron Rodgers' post-game press conference where he basically threw his wide receiver Mike Williams under the bus. He ran the wrong route. You know, as a veteran quarterback, and I mean a veteran quarterback, you don't take accountability for the loss there. You threw an incomplete pass.
No,
he ran the wrong route. Ran the wrong route, and I had to change everything at the last second. Dude, that's what they pay you to do.
And pay him well. And you know, back in the day when he was at Green Bay, and I'm not going to go back too far, but, you know, he used to make the best of it right there. That was typical Rodgers with him scrambling and finding the open receiver. Now he's whining about it. Well, you know, you don't do that in New York. I got news for you. New Yorkers are totally different from cheeseheads. I promise you that. And they won't put up with it. I guarantee you that. Now, he may be running the show right now because we don't know who's really going to be the new coach. But I guarantee you, New Yorkers, they don't put up with that kind of stuff. I'm telling you, especially if you're losing and doing it.
I know a few friends that are hardcore Jets fans, and my thoughts and prayers are with them. Yeah. But, you know, even they are losing a little bit of hope here. It's, you know, there's positivity with gaining Adams. He's a good receiver. when he wants to play. He didn't want to play for Vegas, and it really showed out there. But whenever he really wants to play and put in the effort, I think he is a good receiver. I think it's a positive gain for this team. I think it just may be a little bit too late. And I know that I'm saying that 6 weeks into the season, but you've already now lost to the Bills, the top dog in the conference, once. You'll play them one more time, but you're really going to have to make up for some lost ground, because in the AFC right now, the wild card positions, New York's just not there with everybody else. You look across the AFC and the things that have changed right now, some of the red hot teams right now, Baltimore, right up there at the top. The Ravens have stormed from the cellar in the AFC North. Now they're tied with the Steelers for the top spot in that conference. That's going to be, you think one wild card's certainly going to come from there, whether it be the Ravens or the Steelers there. And then maybe even in the AFC West with, Kansas City leading things. But, Denver's improving. And also Los Angeles is improving. Whenever you look at, where are these wild card spots going to come from? The AFC East, with the Patriots being really down, the Dolphins being injury-ridden, I just don't see it.
No, I don't. And obviously, it's sort of hard to pick. But if you recall last year, Mark, though, a couple of those teams that were barely 500 made it to the playoffs. So we still got, like you were talking, 6 weeks into it, we still got a ways to go. But over in the AFC, I think the big surprise is a lot of these rookies in, 1 year rookies. Now they're pros, a la Houston's quarterback, but they're really impressing a lot of folks around here, and especially Bo. I mean, Nix.
I'm a big Bo Nix fan.
He's looking really good up at Denver, and at 500 right now, I'm not so sure that they may be a contender down the road. Chargers, new coach is not doing that well. They're trying to figure out what their quarterback's all about. He seems to be injury-ridden with his finger all the time or something of that nature.
Yeah.
And then you go down the list, and obviously Baltimore and Pittsburgh are shining. I don't know if Joe can be resurgence down at Cincinnati. The guy's he's got more problems on the line than anybody does. So I'm liking it right now. I think it's going to be those contenders right there. The Houston team has really surprised me. That guy's a real deal, isn't he?
That was one of the divisions where we felt like Houston's going to run away with this thing. That was kind of like a preseason prediction that we had. It looks like that is going to play out the way that it has. Indianapolis looked like it had a little bit of early magic, then had some quarterback troubles, and now Joe Flacco is going to take a seat as the other quarterback is going to come back
right.
and start with Richardson. As we look to the NFC, you talk about a lot of teams at 500. How about a division that is entirely above 500? You see that coming with the NFC North? Because I didn't.
No, nobody did. And that was something that I think that everybody, if you'd have said a rookie quarterback, one that was hurt, and then what you think is an old-timer that shouldn't even be playing at 5-0, which would be 6-0, no, not at all. So the black and blue division, man, oh man, it really is that, because not only are offenses shining up there, Love's back right now, obviously. Had a tremendous weekend with, was it 4 touchdowns or 3 or 4 touchdowns?
Yeah, he had a great day through the air.
Obviously, his high ankle sprain's better because he rushed for like 70-something yards. His pocket presence was good, but and then a rookie quarterback in Chicago, and it's their defense, of course. We all know that it's really doing well, and we need to just sort of. I don't know about Detroit. They dismantled a Dallas team that has they shouldn't even be in playing football right now.
Are you good?
No, not by
mentally. You good?
No. Dak, give it back. Prescott, no, not at all. Not when you spend that kind of money at $60 million a month or whatever he's making anyway. But I'm surprised at Minnesota. I really am. My cousin is a big, huge Vikings fan, and they're looking like, the old Fran Tarkington. Yes, I did say Fran Tarkington days.
The purple people eaters of Minnesota, the Vikings 5-0. Tracy, I'm looking at this game, Vikings and Lions. The Lions go into the Dome. Listen, I'm putting this out there right now. Minnesota gets handed its first loss of the season. I think Detroit is going to go in. They're going to take over the top spot of this division. Detroit is the real deal. They really are. That one blemish on their roster, they're going to come in and erase that by handing the first L of the season to Minnesota coming up this week. Those two teams are both very good teams in the NFC, and I think at least one of them will likely be in the NFC Championship game this year.
I think so too, but I'm still looking out of the corner of my eye, though, at a team that started the year with 6 of their starters down, and now they're starting to trickle back into the lineup.
I know where this is going.
You better believe it. And, yeah, the West Coast offense is still alive and kicking these days, and Brock Purdy is the real deal. Now they're starting to get back some of their starters, not full strength yet, but at 500, they're still up there with the Seattles of the world, which I don't even know about Arizona, and the Rams. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But
let's talk about the 49ers, though, because this is the best case. Well, it's not the best case scenario, but it's still a pretty good scenario here because Christian McCaffrey is finally going to be able to get back in on this team and start doing what he does best. A fresh-legged, healthy Christian McCaffrey coming in 7 weeks into the season.
Third of the way through, yeah.
Oh, you really like those odds because then he's going to carry you all the way to the promised land at the finish line. But McCaffrey and the 49ers get to play host to the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs. This is a big matchup where Kansas City could also be handed its first L of the season. They've got some injury woes, especially at receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster came up with a big game for Kansas City, but does the veteran have the potential to take over for the fire starter in Rice? I mean, we'll see, but I know that one team is healthy, one team is not, and one team is playing at home in the Bay. San Francisco may come up in a big way in this one.
Well, you know they want this back, especially after what happened to them in the Super Bowl.
Of course.
You know that, especially, you and I talk about this all the time, the trenches. The D-line that just absolutely got dogged in the Super Bowl with 7 penalties. 7 penalties that were directed at the defensive line for San Francisco, either lining up in the neutral zone or just strictly offsides. You know what? They're going to tee off, and I'm going to tell you what. They're going to come back, and they're healthy. They are back, and they've got a couple of new rookies in there that are working the system with them. And you talk about both of those guys, they're going to be wanting some Kansas City Chief for dinner. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, some very, very big matchups there. Let's take things to another level here. Let's go to Major League Baseball, where the postseason is going very, very strong. Both ALCS and NLCS are in motion right now. And I'll be honest, Tracy, it looks like your prediction may potentially come true. It's not all said and done yet here. One thing is for certain, through 2 games of the ALCS, the New York Yankees look extremely strong, and that Dodgers-Mets series evened up at the time of this recording this week. Actually looks like it could go either way. That's a 1 versus 6 matchup. I don't know if the Guardians have enough gas left in the tank to roar back and make this a series on the AL side. What do you think about ALCS? Does Cleveland have what it takes, or is this New York's to lose?
No, they've got a 3-game stretch right now as us taping this on Wednesday. They got a 3-game stretch in Cleveland, and we'll see what happens. They got to do something with the bats. They have not. New York has just blanked them. And then when you talk about bats, sheesh, my goodness, they're just creaming the pitchers right now, you know. And what's bad is even with their wins, with the Yankees both with the wins, they still left 15 people on base. Okay, now if any of them had gone completely around, there's no telling what the score would have been. But, you know, a 3-game stretch for Cleveland. We'll see what happens. But their pitching's got to get a little bit better because, you know, those starting – oh, man, what I call the slug lineup, 2, 3, and 4 hole is just unbelievable. And everybody on the Yankees lineup can hit the ball, there's no doubt. But their pitching is what's really got them to here is the Yankees. You know, the other night they pitched 8 pitchers. 8. Okay? And just when they thought that Cleveland was going to make a little bit of a surge there in the 7th inning, well, there wasn't no stretch in the 7th. It was just go ahead and blank them out. And that was after their starter went 6 innings, 6.5. So I see Yankees.
There's a report coming out that in that pivotal Game 5 where Cleveland eliminated Detroit, Jose Ramirez, the Cleveland superstar, offered his teammates $500 each for RBIs and $1,000 each for home runs. I don't know if that's what got Cleveland past Detroit in the end, but it sounds like Ramirez may need to open up his checkbook one more time to see if they can answer back against the Yankees. Of course, Cleveland has the longest World Series drought out of all teams in the major leagues. I know some teams have never won, but Cleveland's drought is longer, even those teams that have never won. And of course, when we look on the National League side too, I know that regardless of how this shapes up, let's say the Yankees do get to the World Series. Regardless of where this shapes up, boy, we've got a really good story on our hands. We could have our first Subway Series since 2000, or we could have the battle of the Clash of the Titans, the battle of the Juggernauts, whatever we want to call it. You could see Aaron Judge facing off across the way from Shohei Ohtani for all of the marbles. That could possibly be, at least on paper, with the star power that's there, could possibly be the greatest World Series in regards to talent that I think the world's ever seen.
Yeah, definitely East Coast, West Coast matchup. And sure enough, how much money altogether is in those lineups? I mean, think about literally now we're talking billions.
Oh, yes.
Not millions, billions. But I'm going to still go with my Subway Series, evened up right now. But here's the deal. They've got to have Alonso and a couple of those others have got to start it back up again if the Mets are even going to keep up with the Dodgers. Now, on the reverse side, the Dodgers, though, are hurting. They only have gone through 6 pitchers in their rotation right now. And so that was what was able to actually help them. They got a couple of guys that have strained elbows and such, and they I think if anything right now, if they don't score a lot of runs, the pitching staff, if they go deep, I think that if it goes to full series, I think the Mets come out on top, and I'm going to keep with my Subway Series, Mark.
It's always that red-hot wild card team. I know they've got a 6 in front of their name, and they do not care. The New York Mets are trying to get that first World Series in a long, long time. We got a lot to talk about on the show this week. We need to talk some college football. When we come back, don't go anywhere. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition continues in a moment on 92.9 KVRE.
Second quarter coming up.
And we're back, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE. He's Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. Well, Tracy, the Arkansas Razorbacks had a week off to rest and maybe celebrate a little bit more of that big win against Tennessee, but it's back to business this week. The battle for the Golden Boot. The Razorbacks are back home once again, and they've got another tough test this week with the 8th-ranked Tigers of LSU. Tracy, after a week off, sometimes that bye week can be detrimental to a team that's red hot. Does Arkansas have enough gas left in the tank to overcome Garrett Nussmeier's passing prowess?
Well, and that's the whole deal, Mark. Everybody's got their eyes set on, of course, the offense right now with Green and having the hyperextension. MRI came up negative, but, still 2 weeks rest was that's huge right now. If he'd have came right back, no. Well, with our other quarterback, not enough season in him. He's just not enough season. But as it is right now, with the rest, we're going to have to find out what the defense. Now, we're talking a big offense for LSU. Is that's what it took to when they, in overtime for Ole Miss. But their defense is what really is what it's all about. Now, are they going to put pressure on Green and make him utilize his legs? And we know that is he going to come out with a brace on? He did practice the other day, and he had a brace on it. So are they going to work him? I think, I hate to say it, but the honeymoon's over, so to speak. And the Razorbacks, now one thing for them as far as positive, they are playing on the hill, okay? It might have been the last time the Razorbacks beat LSU when I was up there. It's been like 6 years ago or whatever it was, and they had the boot. They haven't had it since then, I know that. But it's an interesting concept. But they just so happen to have 2 weeks to get prepared for this. I think if anybody can do it, our offense, the health problems is the issue though, Mark, and our offensive line has got to hold up against their defense. So I'm going to say the Razorbacks can do it.
So you mentioned a bunch of really key factors that I think are all very important in this matchup. But ultimately, if you had to choose one, in order for Arkansas to win this game, what is one thing that has to happen?
Rushing. They've got to have a rushing attack like you and I talked about. They've got to. They've got to hold up. Both those running backs have got to have big days, and that all goes back in the trenches. And I know we bring up the trenches all the time, but this line has to have a big-time day. And we've seen it beforehand, but LSU's a different animal. I'll be honest with you. When the Tigers come to town, you better have them by the tail. I'll be honest with you.
And it's a big rivalry match as well.
Man.
You mentioned the rushing game, Jaquindon Jackson. I agree. He needs to have a big game. He's got to have a lot of reps. He's got to take a lot of time off the clock. The key to keeping Nussmeier from shoving passes down your throat, you got to take away his seat at the table. Now, Jackson had 3 100-plus rushing yard games to start the season, but he's really cooled off since then, so we're looking for a big game out of Jaquindon Jackson. And then you mentioned LSU's defense. I think that's my big thing. I think the offensive line has to protect here. Here's the deal. LSU ranks 4th in the nation in sacks. They're in the top 30 in tackles for loss, and Green has time to heal. Yes, is he 100%? Well, we're going to find out on Saturday. But with new confidence, Green has to be put in position to make plays, whether it's through the air or maybe even with his legs. He can't do any of it if he doesn't have the time to get it figured out, go through his progressions, and at least get a decent effort down the field.
And Mark, once again now, you were talking about Jackson cooling off a little bit, but he's not getting the rock as much. No. Also, okay, they're sharing the wealth, which has helped, to be honest with you, with the rushing game. They're not so dependent on him. They got a freshman up there by way of Benton, by way of Hot Springs, Lakeside, or whatever you want to say, by way of a hometown boy at 253 that really can, carry the ball and so to speak, carry the load a little bit. So I think that's helped out a lot. But like you said, the offensive line better come up big because the Tigers line, not in the SEC, but in the whole 160-something D1 teams, they're number 4. Those are men down there playing. Make no bones about it. It's going to be a game of in the trenches, and if we can hold up, it'll be a matchup, I believe.
We both go offense as our keys to the game, but honestly, defense has to show up as well. Very similar matchup. It's the spread against another good quarterback like Nussmeier, and it's a very similar game plan defensively like you saw against Tennessee. You've got to bring the pressure. You have to throw the quarterback off of his rhythm. You got to go out there and make plays. And I'm talking about turnovers. I'm not just talking about batting down the ball. You've got to go steal the ball away, create possessions for your team, and that's going to be the key to victory in this one, I think. Another marquee game.
Is it me, or does he sort of look like Joe Burrow in the pocket?
Yeah, it's weird.
Just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But he does. I mean, he's so present. I mean,
must be an LSU thing.
I guess. I don't know. But the way he throws the ball, the way he moves, he scrambles, and the way he delivers it too, which he's pretty accurate on most of his throws. He has a couple interceptions already, but still, it just seems like it was just pulled right out of Joe Burrow's.
And it may not be completely far-fetched, Tracy, because these guys are coming up in the high school ranks. Who are they looking at? Who are they watching? NFL quarterbacks, or guys that did it really well in college, maybe even the college that you're planning on going to, kind of thing. So it's not too far out of the woods to say, yeah, maybe he's used as a role model there, and obviously it's worked really well for them. 6 o'clock kickoff in Fayetteville. Even Vegas has this one as a close one in a shootout. But Tracy, some other big things.
I got to say, hey, credit to you. Your Ducks.
Oh, I know.
Look at now, he starts a big old smile. Look at now, your big old smile.
But here's the deal: I'm not very happy this week, Tracy, because I'm actually a little bit upset here because
they didn't go number 1. I know
they didn't go number. Now, come on, man. No. Well, 2 versus 3. I get it. It was a 1-point win. It was a quality win over a very good Ohio State team. That's not enough to push you to number 1. Who did Texas play? Who did Texas play last week?
They played number 18, Oklahoma, and beat them pretty soundly.
Yeah, but they didn't play number 3 in the nation.
No, but hey, you know what? I'm throwing back on you. Professionally, you're a writer. You know what? Professionally. And that's what the AP is. Professional writers. It's not the coaches poll. So, you know what I mean? You do what you want to, but those guys, they're the one that put Texas up on top. Me, myself, and I, from what I've seen, the Ducks are number 1. I'll be honest with you. I mean, and I have no fight in here.
I've unlocked a new level of Mark Oliver this week because I started asking myself, Mark, do you actually hate the SEC? Is this what it feels like to be anybody else in the country?
Outside looking in.
Is this what it feels like? The SEC bias?
Well, Mark, if you recall when we started at the very 6 weeks ago, we had 6 of the top 10 teams were SEC. Now, and I said, do not put stock in these polls. Do not put stock in these polls. And sure enough, look at it now. I mean, you had 3 of the top 5 out of the SEC. Now you were down to 2. Okay, don't.
Yeah.
Okay, don't.
Yeah.
And the reason I said that is because now you're going to get SEC play, right? So they're going to be playing each other and
They're
knocking
all
each other
gonna
off.
beat each other down.
Exactly.
I mean, it even really starts this week. Texas and Georgia.
Texas and Georgia.
1 versus 5. If Texas wins, they'll certainly be number 1, as they should be, I guess, at that point. But I mean, other big matchups are, Alabama's got Tennessee. This is a huge one. 2 5-1 squads going at it. Someone's going to go to 6-1 and jump up significantly in the standings here. So yeah, I mean, the SEC certainly the most powerful conference in all of college football. But the truth is, whether you're an Oregon fan like me, or maybe you like Penn State, who's also 6-0, Miami's actually 6-0 and still ranked number 6. Thankfully with the expanded playoff, your team does not have to be number 1 to get it done at the end of the season.
Well, Penn State, it took overtime for them, so you know what I mean. It was a close call. There was 4 overtimes, as a matter of fact, in the top 25 bracket. But as it is right now, I mean, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, but you got to go back, reversing a little bit. Who's Oregon played? See, there's they go back to this thing, strength of schedule.
Number 3, right. Ohio State.
Okay, but before that is what I'm saying. You know what they've okay. I mean, that's what you got to go back on. And if you start thinking about it, and I mean, why wouldn't Indiana at 6-0 be, in the top 10? You know what? Because of strength of schedule. Okay, and that's what they base this on. Everybody, every win, every loss is given a point, and blah 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 blah. But as it is right now, a lot of marquee matchups, like you were saying this week. I think that now that you've got interconference play, they're going to be dropping like flies, and you're going to see these other conferences start moving up and such, and it's going to be a messed up thing. Be careful what you wish for, SEC, because now you're not going to have as many teams in the playoffs because they've beat up on each other, and the Ole Misses of the world are laying, and everybody's going to be crying outside looking in, and it's just that simple. Because now with 2 losses, it's going to be tough, even with 12 teams.
Last question here before we wrap up the second quarter. Should Arkansas defeat 8th-ranked LSU, that's back-to-back top 10 wins for the Hogs, do they get ranked?
Well, I don't know why they're not ranked right now. To be honest, you see Michigan in here at 4-2.
Yep.
They're 24th. And then you see Ole Miss, they didn't drop out of the top 20.
What is it going to take?
So,
I guess you have to beat LSU.
And they beat the big team at one time. So I don't know why they're not in the top 25. You got the likes of, you got several undefeated. Pitt, Army, Navy, and if they keep that going, what a game that's going to be.
Oh, yes.
But anyway, and BYU, who's had some some really good wins. Why are they not in the top 10? I don't go with the poll a lot, but I'll be honest with you. The refs and the poll work, they're not my top back. But yes, they should get in the top 25 at least if we get a W.
When we come back, we've got some local sports coverage to bring your way. Big achievements here on the local scale, and we'll tell you all about them when we come back on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, 92.9 KVRE.
Third quarter coming up.
And we're back, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE. Happy Saturday. He's Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. Tracy, there are a lot of big things happening in the local sports scene here in Garland County and the surrounding areas. We begin over at National Park College, where the Nighthawks are flying high this season. We'd like to congratulate a freshman cross-country runner, Alex Pacheco, the freshman recently breaking his own school record in the men's 8K race. He ran a 28:40.6 at the Ozarks Invitational at the University of the Ozarks in Clarksville last weekend, breaking his previous school record of 29:08.7 set 3 weeks ago at the Chili Pepper Festival in Fayetteville. Pacheco defeats his own best ever 8K school record by a whopping 28 seconds to finish 15th in the Ozarks Invitational, and now he has his sights set high on the NJCAA Region 2 Championship this weekend at Northwest Arkansas Community College in Bentonville. A young man that used to call Lakeside High School home, now doing really big things in the history books for National Park College cross country now.
And we're starting to see this a little bit more prevalent, Mark, and adding, several new sports and out keying in on some of them. And not that the other kids weren't really good, but we're just starting to see a little bit more competitive spirit in local kids are starting to really make adjustment to this and saying, look, I can go over to NBC and get an education and see mom and dad every once in a while, or Grammy and Grandpa, and get to stay at home in our backyard. So, and I love seeing these, we've seen them in high school at meets, and now we're starting to see them at the collegiate level. It's pretty cool to be able to follow them a little bit and maybe even go see them live.
Yeah, I think outside of maybe one young man that hails from Arkadelphia, the entire team is from Garland County. Bethany Brashears used to call Fountain Lake home. She's been the team leader for National Park this season. And, of course, Pacheco doing everything that he's done, breaking his own school record by 18 seconds is pretty remarkable. I spent a lot of time looking at the record books this week and just looking at past times over the past 4 years that NPC has had cross country, and it's a very significant achievement for a young man that continues to set a personal record every time he starts a race, and now setting back-to-back school records for NPC. I think the Nighthawk men are in a really good spot to claim their first ever Region 2 championship in cross country. But it's not just cross country. Another big championship coming up this week for Nighthawk men and women's soccer. They'll be taking on the University of Arkansas Cossatot for the Region 2 championship Saturday in Southwest Arkansas. The men are looking for their third straight title. The women, their second. Both teams defeated the Colts 3-0 back in September. The Nighthawks can advance to the postseason with a win, a draw, or possibly even a loss, as long as it's a close one. The men will advance and play in Illinois against the winner of Region 24, while the women face the winner of Region 16 in Missouri in early November. But Coach Corey Irvine's men and women's soccer squads looking really strong, approaching the regular season finish line.
He's made adjustments over there, and he knows the game, and that's the big part of it. Not that the previous coaches and such, but he really knows the game coming from his background and such like that. But these guys have really put it together. I was able to come out there and watch a couple of times. I'm not a huge one on the rules and stuff like that, like you are, but I was so impressed with the capability of the team as a whole, and with him coming, relatively short time here and making the adjustments that he had to make. And then, having them on top, I think it's pretty cool. But he's you said at one time we may be going to have him on the show, but that's your call, man.
Might have to bring a Scottish translator for him. That accent is extremely thick. But after the regular season wraps up, let's get Coach Corey Irvine on the show. I think that would be really fun. He's a great guy, and of course, you talk about what he's done with the squads. It's because they've bought into the leadership that both he and Coach Jake Watts have had. They relate really well with the guys and the girls. They believe in what they can do, and we're looking forward to some really big things and when the postseason comes up. Had a chance to see some Nighthawks softball at home. They've been road warriors pretty much all fall, but Coach Autumn Wyatt's Nighthawks had a great home exhibition doubleheader last week against Central Baptist College. Freshman third baseman Bree Phillips smacked her first collegiate home run, a 3-run blast as NPC downed the Mustangs 6-1 in both contests. This is a team that in 2025 wants to challenge and win its first ever Region 2 championship, and they are going against the toughest competition that they can find. If they're a top team, they've got them on the schedule, and they want to be battle tested, getting ready for, next May, whenever the postseason comes back around. Nighthawks are going to be a really strong squad this year.
And if anybody knows, you've been following them, and after you going and doing the show, hey, look, this is something special. As soon as you left the show last year, you were, traveling and going with them.
That's right.
And that was a story in itself right there. But if anybody knows softball like you do, Mark, and this team, they've got a couple of those games already. They already got them marked on the calendar. And you know who I'm talking about, a couple of tough teams out of Oklahoma that they've got to get through. And it's going to be a tough matchup, but hey, you know what? That's why they get out there and practice. That's why they play these early fall games, and they'll get after it. They got to stay healthy, and it's something that they have a goal, and that's what goals are for, to set and to accomplish.
Hey, on the high school scene, congratulations to Lakeside High School. The Rams hosted the Class 5A South Tennis Conference Championships last week and came away with a great performance, with the entire teams for both the boys and the girls qualifying for state. That's 6 apiece for 12 total athletes representing Lakeside on the biggest stage this week. Boys single winner Barrett Tipton won every set, lost only 3 games across 4 matches. In doubles, congratulations to senior Nate Lindsay and junior Asher Williams winning first place. They defeated another Lakeside duo in the finals to win conference, and that happened not only on the boys' side, but on the girls' side as well, with Mia Franchione and Addison Gibson taking home the conference title in girls' doubles. But they swept the whole thing, Tracy. Boys' singles, boys' doubles, girls' singles, and girls' doubles. It was all Lakeside in the 5A South. And, last week we talked about a really great performance from Fountain Lake in boys and girls golf. Lakeside now certainly the top dog here in Garland County in boys and girls tennis.
Yeah, and they've proved, through the years, they've had some really good players coming out of there. And, of course, I'm curious to see where a couple of them, like you were talking about, I'm curious to see where they're going to be playing on Saturdays, because obviously it's huge around here locally, not only with the GAC, but also in other Division II areas. And at that level, if you're that good, maybe even the Razorbacks or somebody of that nature, UCA, or you never know, even Arkansas State. I know they got a really good tennis program down at SMU, and I've seen a couple of those players that left Lakeside go down there. So, I'm curious to see where they're going. But great accomplishment. Congratulations to them. It's a really great feat. A couple of different pretty good championships around here lately.
Yeah, absolutely. And we love whenever the Garland County teams and the surrounding areas bring a championship home. You cement yourself into the history books, and that's an achievement that will never be taken away. Memories that'll certainly last a lifetime. So congratulations to Lakeside tennis coach Shawnee Green and all of the Rams, the boys and the girls, on a job well done this season. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some high school football. The regular season, boy, if you blink, it will be over. We're coming down to the wire. The playoff picture's developing, and we'll tell you the stories on each of the 7 Garland County teams when we come back right here on 92.9 at KVRE.
Fourth quarter coming up.
And we're back. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE and streaming online at kvre.com. With Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. Tracy, it feels like just a couple of weeks ago that we were previewing the season, full possibilities, clean slate for every squad, and now here we are. We've just got 3 weeks left in the regular season. Boy, it goes by so fast every fall. Multiple schools are in the hunt for playoff positions here in the Garland County listening area, some on the outside looking in, and some sitting very pretty right now with 3 weeks to go. We'll start in the lower divisions. We'll start with Mountain Pine this season. A tough year for the Red Devils. They've really just kind of escaped the gauntlet, if you will, with big matchups against Bigelow and Conway Christian. Now looking to kind of right the ship with a must-win game to keep the playoff picture alive. Mountain Pine will travel to Mountainburg, and I think this is just the matchup that the Red Devils are looking for to get back on track. Still time to get it right, but it starts this Friday night. They've got to manage the ball very well, limit turnovers, and more importantly, on defense, they've got to keep the Dragons from scoring.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea. And they played tough in these last couple of weeks. They've really played tough. They took Bigelow to the test, and their offense just wasn't able to turn. And like you said last week, though, injuries, nothing that's really big time, but little hampering hamstrings and stuff like that, and you can tell the difference. And they've got a squad that's got some kids that can step up and play, but when you start a season, and like you said, on a lower level like that, there's one kid, 2 kids, 3 kids that really make the difference in the team, and they've got a couple of those 1, 2, 3 kids that are hampered with some injuries. You could tell that against Bigelow, Mountainburg. Hey, Bigelow put Mountainburg, took them apart. So I think once they get the ball rolling in the right direction, hey, it's Red Devils. Come on, man. Really? That's what their tradition's like.
We have seen a bit of a struggle, I think, across the board for schools that previously played 8-man football returning into Class 11-man. We've seen it quite a bit, and a bit with really all 3 Garland County schools. Next one on my list is Cutter Morning Star. It hasn't been the return to 11-man football that Cutter has wanted, and it appears that the Eagles are going to fall short of the playoffs this year. But hey, listen, Rome wasn't built in a day. They get a resurgent Glen Rose Beavers team at home with a chance to do something special, but it could be a tough night for Peyton Mills and the boys in this one.
Yeah, well, defense, if anything, has kept Glen Rose, in the game so far because their offense, they graduated all those seniors we've talked about time and time again. But defense is really what's kept them in the game. And this is going to be a tough one. Like you said, it wasn't built in a day. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Not only these three teams here locally, but Mountain View that won the championship. They haven't won a game this year.
They hadn't lost a game in 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
And I think that says everything in the transition from 8-man back to 11-man. I do still believe that 8-man was the right move, really, for all of these three schools, Mountain Pine, Cutter, Fountain Lake, to save their season, save their program. But coming back and, respectively, coming back into some really difficult conferences too doesn't always fare the best for these teams. But, they get this year under their belt, see what they can do. Next year they roar back in a big way, we think. But, we mentioned Glen Rose, traveling to Cutter. Boy, the Beavers, I'll be the first to admit, we talked to Coach Keener before the start of the season. He wasn't sure what this team was going to be able to do with getting rid of so many seniors, graduating so many seniors last year. This is a team that's come back, and now Glen Rose is in position to win the conference championship after a big win over Jessieville. The Lions are still kind of reeling and shaking off that stunning defeat against Glen Rose. They get Danville this week, and all hope is not lost for the Lions. It's not time to panic. Jessieville can still secure a favorable playoff position if they win out, and they shouldn't have too much trouble with the Little Johns, but next Friday night's game against Perryville becomes even more interesting now that Glen Rose is in a mix, and there's a three-headed monster there at the top of the division.
Well, and that's what I'm hoping is they're not overlooking this game, because the deal about it, Mustangs are for real this year. And let's hope that they don't overlook it. We thought that about Cutter and the Little Johns last time. And
yes.
We're still eating barbecue crow. But that's okay. Hey, that's why you play four quarters. You'll hear us that time and time again. But, yeah, no reason to panic. Coach Burke, he'll figure it out, and he'll get back on track.
Here's another big one this week. Hot Springs at Texarkana. The Trojans have punched their ticket to the playoffs, now looking to fine-tune things over the next few weeks. Certainly a must-win game over the lowly Razorbacks with two really tough games ahead. Coming up for the Trojans, they've got Camden Fairview and still Lakeside in Week 10. But a respectable playoff draw is within reach if they can grab at least two of these next three games. And, of course, I know that Coach Burnett is not satisfied with just getting to the playoffs. He wants to get that elusive playoff win and try to make a run for this squad.
Yeah, the thing about it is, though, Mark, early season they went through some tough teams. Then they got a little bit of a lull, which has helped them build confidence. And once again, I hate to say it, but I hope they're not looking way too down the road at that last game.
Yeah, because you can't.
Season.
You can't.
No, because they need every game from here on out. Not only make playoffs, but to get a good seeding, because you know how important that is. Not only they're already out of getting a bye, but at home, that's huge. Especially at this level, when you got the crowd there helping you out, that's huge, and that's what actually I think they're going for right now, just to get a home field advantage.
Lakeside taking on DeQueen this week. Look, the 5A South Conference is going to come down to a Halloween showdown. Lakeside and Parkview. This is the last tune-up game, if you will. Lakeside against the lowly Leopards of DeQueen. I think Lakeside takes care of business here pretty easily, but hey, when's the last time that Lakeside would go to a battle for a conference championship? That should be a very fun Thursday game.
And the deal about it is, how soon are they going to put him away? By halftime, so he can pull those guys out?
Yeah.
Because you know what it's going to be with the Patriots. I mean, come on, really? You know what that's going to be like, and everybody's got an X on the Patriots, and it's that simple. Bolden Brothers, they're not going to give it up that easy. I promise you that. So hopefully he gets in there. Mercy. And I'm not saying anything about, the hopes or the queens of this, the world, but they're down, and this conference is tough. But if they can put him away at halftime and get his starters rested, I think we got a shot at it.
Now, listen, Tracy, I know Coach Tommy Gillerin has no say in the matchup in front of him, but in my opinion, this is the dumbest matchup in all of Arkansas high school football. Lake Hamilton taking on Mountain Home. Look, Greenwood was tough. The season doesn't get any easier from this point. Mountain Home is actually the real deal this year, and the Bombers actually travel well despite having to drive more than 4 hours to get to Wolf Stadium on Friday. For Lake Hamilton, they return home. There's no place like home if you're the Wolves this week.
No doubt about that. My father-in-law used to talk about this all the time because he coached the Bombers for 15 seasons, and every game they had to travel. There's no big schools.
There's nobody else up
there.
there.
I mean, Harrison is below them in a different conference.
Yeah.
And that's their marquee, non-conference matchup down there. But the Goblins aren't even a part of it. So they have to travel every weekend away. So that's not a big factor. That's what he said all the time. Everybody used to think that. But they used to have to go to Little Rock over by Fayetteville all the time.
It's just normal for
so
them.
that's nothing new to them. I don't think that's a factor in this. And, of course, playing in front of the fans and over at Lake Hamilton, no laughing matter. But they better have their best game on because the Bombers are real this year.
I don't know. It's just, if I know that neither team is like super spread pass happy, but let's say that Lake Hamilton shifted to the spread one day and this game ends at 10 o'clock and then you've got to drive and you get home between 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning, driving to Mountain Home through the woods with all the deer. It's a safety issue. I mean, it's just plain and simple. It's a safety issue.
AAA needs to, because there's enough teams now over in Northwest Arkansas, which is only an hour and a half from them, that they could easily slip into that conference there. There's enough teams. And, look at Benton driving to Memphis.
I know it.
Look at El Dorado driving to Memphis. What in the world is the AAA? I don't think safety has anything on their mind right now. I'll be honest with you. It's almost like the officiating these days.
I know.
It's mixed up.
Hey, last but not least, Fountain Lake, a short road trip to Malvern. Malvern certainly hasn't missed a beat. Changed its coach before the season. Coach Fogelman, the coach of old, comes back in, and the Leopards are now in the driver's seat for the conference championship in the 7-4A.
No doubt.
Boy, Malvern Arkadelphia is going to be really good in Week 10. But as good as their offense is, Tracy, their defense may be even better. Jeremiah Jimerson and David Hutchins are a 1-2 punch. They're quick to the football. They're the perfect recipe for creating turnovers and stifling drives. For Fountain Lake, the offensive line has slowed down, cooled a little bit midway through the season. They're going to have to show up and protect Cooper Buss, or it could be a very long night for Fountain Lake.
How many more years have we got to hear this Jimerson name?
Well, so Jeremiah Jimerson is the younger brother of Demias Jimerson, who used to give us fits as the quarterback for the Leopards. Of course, he went on and did great things for National Park College as a baseball player and now playing in the minor leagues. But, tradition runs deep in Malvern, and the Jimerson family is certainly some of the best athletes to come through in quite some time. And Jeremiah Jimerson, better get used to the name because you're going to hear it a lot over the next few years.
Mark, you're going to have to do some math now coming up here pretty soon because as it is, 5 of these in the 7-4A go, and we're looking at the last slot, which is basically Ashdown and Fountain Lake. So you're going to have to, because obviously Arkadelphia, Nashville, Malvern, Bauxite's on the bubble, but I'm thinking right now that you're going to have to do your math and figure it out. And how key is the scoring because the 13 points.
You're right. It's all going to be very important because really for the 5th playoff seed in this conference, there's really 3 teams vying for it. It could be Ashdown, could be Fountain Lake, and it also could be Haskell Harmony Grove in that 5 spot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So it'll be very, very tough, I think.
And Fountain Lake got blanked the last 2 times in conference games.
Yeah, against Nashville, against Arkadelphia,
they
and lost by
6
to Bauxite. But I don't think that Fountain Lake's going to be competing with Bauxite, like outside looking in kind of thing. I think Bauxite's a lock, but it's going to come down to some very must-win games, especially with Haskell Harmony Grove at home and then on the road against Coach Richardson's former team in the Ashdown Panthers in Week 10.
Well, I tell you what, we got loads of it, gang, man. Boy, I can't wait for some of these playoff pictures. I know you'll have them ready for us.
Oh, yeah, we'll have all the stats for you in the coming weeks. That's our show this week. So much to talk about, so much to get to. We'd like to thank you for tuning in to Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition. You can text the show anytime during the week, 501-915-1300. And we're here every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on 92.9 KVRE. And you can listen to us anytime at kvre.com. For Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. That's our show. We'll see you next week.
Game over.